tomorrow night. It is all about England against Senegal for a place in the quarter-finals. England are training around about now. We're going to be live to Doha a little later in the programme just to see how it's all gone and check on the fitness of the team. Let's talk a bit about what England have done so far, though. Jamie, I'll start with you. They've achieved the first objective. They've got out of the group. They've won it as well. How do you rate the job that Southgate's side have done so far?
Well, I think playing in the group that they were in, I expected them to win it. I think there was, as usual in England, that kind of pause and a little bit of end of momentum when they drew to United States. But I think that really, look, in the camp, they know that all the messages were, we're here to top the group, and they were confident in doing that. They ended up beating Wales very comfortably, and then they've done what they set out to do, and they're in the knockout stages. I think I expected them to get to that point, and they've played brilliantly in patches in a lot of the games, and I think obviously now the tests really start.
I mean, after that USA game, Darren, the reaction was, oh, it's awful. Yeah. They're going home early. Then they score 3 goals against Wales in the second half, and it's coming home. Yeah. Where are you in between the two ranges of emotion?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Jamie said there. I think they've done what they needed to do. Of course, really good result against Iran. And then maybe a bit of a lacklustre performance against the USA. And then they beat Wales, which we expected them to do. But I think a lot of England fans would have probably said that this was where the test would be. They all predicted it was going to be Senegal when they got out of the group, and then France waiting for them. And when you speak to certainly a lot of the England fans that I speak to, it's always the France game. They all expect France to be there. But England are going in there in good form. He's got good players in his squad, Gareth Southgate, that are playing really well. We're interested to see what he does with the team tomorrow, because he's made a couple of changes. A lot of people were screaming out for Foden to get an opportunity. He came in, was brilliant. Rashford scored 2 goals. So at least he's got players that are playing well, and that he's not got a set amount of players where you go, right, if I put him in, he's not really played well. Everyone's playing well at the minute, so I think he's done a good job to get to this point, Gareth Southgate. But as Jamie was saying there again,
I think it's harder now, Benny, to pick the side for the Senegal game than it was for the Iran game at the start, because you've had Saka in the first game did really well, didn't even come on in the last game, but then you've got to start Rashford, haven't you?
Do you know what, in some regards, I think it's maybe easier. But if it was a league campaign, you could give maybe a few players a little bit more of an opportunity. But I think in a tournament situation, you go with whoever's playing well. Rashford and Foden were brilliant in the last game, so you stick with them. Even if you go with the same team, I don't think a lot of people would probably question it and go, I'd probably change 1 or 2 issues here, because, as I said, you haven't got a lot of time to prepare. So if the team plays well and you put in a good performance, stick with it.
I believe he's going to make a few changes.
Ooh, really? Or go back to how it looked before?
Well, it might be a bit different, Jules. I think he's planned it. Meticulous, him and Steve Holland. I think they know what they're doing. So we spoke about the Senegal and then France. I think they've got the teams in mind already. Henderson coming in the last game. He's coming in for a reason. It's a derby against Wales. He got around the pitch. You could hear him from all over the place, couldn't you, on the TV? He was screaming, shouting, really getting them up for it. So I think the squad's the squad. I think that's why he's brought that many players. Obviously, he had to. But I think in terms of different teams, Senegal, for me, you're going to need pace and power against Senegal. You are, because they're going to try and outrun you. They're going to be physical. They're going to be strong. Technically, not the best, but they're going to try and get about you. I believe me just sitting here thinking, OK, what's he going to go with? We all expect Rashford to start. Will he throw something in there that counteract that? Will he have subs ready on 60 minutes to go and win the game of football? I think Gareth Southgate and Steve Holland have been absolutely clever. I
think it's hard in this England side to be the one that you have to pick. And I just think with Rashford, timing-wise, coming in, I think he's got to play, because when you've got that confidence. So he's probably one where you're like, it's very hard to leave him out, because then if he doesn't start, does he lose that bit of confidence?
You've almost been waiting this long for him to get back to the
and he's there now. And when you've got that feeling about you...
I 100% agree with you, right, but who's to say he's not going to go to a 3-5-2, which everyone expects him to in the knockout stages, which he has done before? Where does Rashford fit in then? Does he go up front alongside Harry Kane?
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, Southgate, everyone's the England manager at this point. And that's the good debate about it. But he does, and he deserves enormous credit, obviously, because he seems to get it right in each game. Like, I think how Ryan says it is that they've almost got it planned out for each little possibility already, and we sort of guess along the way. I think that the Rashford one sort of come out of nowhere he played. I just hope that he sticks with a 4. Because I really think it does suit this style of being on that front.
You get more attacking players on the pitch.
Yeah, and I think any time where you see in the America game where they just go in a little bit deeper into their shell almost. It really like neglects what we're good at. Is going forward with pace.
Well, it was talk he done that against USA, didn't he? And he probably known what they need to do. He won the first game, drew the second game, and with all due respect, he probably knew they were going to win the third game. Yeah. So that's tournament football in itself, isn't it? How you go about your business, and I think they've gone about it superbly well so far. I've just got a feeling that there'll be more changes because I don't think you can be just straightforward in tournament football. You know, as a manager, I look at the 2 or 3 games ahead coming. The next one's the most important one, but you might think that my player might suit that game. Now, he's got the cream of the crop, hasn't he, at England, Gareth Southgate, so why wouldn't he use them type of players? You know, so for me, I think there's going to be some surprises, and I think the surprises will be to benefit England to get through the stages rather than just to benefit players. So we talk about Rashford scoring 2, but what about Saka? He scored 2 the first game.
But you know, though, because of the second game against USA where maybe Saka wasn't at his best, it's almost like Gareth Southgate's looked at the Rashford and the Foden situation and gone, I get it, Saka wasn't great against USA, he didn't play, but he scored 2 in the first game. Yeah. But Rashford's hot, Foden's hot. How do I then take them back out the firing line to put Saka back in when we've waited so long? People have wanted Foden to get in the team. They've wanted Rashford to get back to the Rashford we know. How do, once we get them there, we then take them back out again?
But we also know, and Ryan, you'll know this as a manager, he has his favourite players who he leans on and relies on time after time. Saka has become one of those, and Sterling has been one throughout until the other day. How big a dilemma is that going to be for him to leave out Sterling? Now we've reached the knockout stage where you're losing, you're out.
I don't think it's a dilemma. I think it's a good situation to be in, knowing that them lads all know. There's one thing at stake in this World Cup, and that's for England to achieve something amazing what they haven't achieved in years to come. So there won't be no, we were talking off air about players, how you handle young players, how you have players with egos and attitudes and stuff like that. The times changed in football from when we all played. So I think Gareth Southgate has got a group of players, they all understand why they're there and they all understand what they need to bring to the team. And I think there's going to be changes along the way. You know, Gallagher, we haven't seen Gallagher yet. What does Gallagher bring to Chelsea's team? Energy, desire, commitment all over the pitch. Don't be surprised to see him in one of these games. Wow. And that's just me as a manager looking, thinking out loud of where can you get these type of players in the team. So you might sacrifice 1 or 2 players who are technically very good to stay in the game for 60, 70 minutes and then go all out. Because I think that just showed the second half against Wales. We were right on the front foot second half. It was game over. We probably knew what Wales were going to try and do and stay in the game and be compact and whatnot. But I think he's got some good situations to have. Dilemma, I think he's licking his lips, maybe you're asking me, because of the players he's got around.
You know, when you go, like, when you talk about the forward options, I think all 4 of us could sit here and go, are you that bothered who plays like the 2 either side came? Because I think they're all so good, they're so talented and they can all go and win a game themselves. So it's almost like that area of the pitch is a positive in any way you pick a team. Yeah. And then you get the opportunity to play in the last game. I know Saka did brilliantly well in the first game, but because he didn't play in the last game, I agree, just as a player, I think Rashford would be like, if the game was kicking off yesterday morning, he'd be the first one desperate to play. Yeah. He's probably thinking he's going to go and score another goal. That's why I just feel you have to play him.
How tough that for Senegal's coach, though? He doesn't know who Gareth Southgate's no. So I think that's a good situation to have and good to have it in the bank of these type of players who he can put in and when he wants to put in. So I'd like to see a few surprises, not too many, but I'd like to build a game around who he thinks can win the game of football to get through to the next one, whether it's France or whoever it may be, to keep progressing in the tournament.
And we talked about the forwards, and you mentioned the name of Jordan Henderson earlier. Certainly made his presence felt in that game, but Darren Mason-Mount is another one of those he likes. Do you see him coming back in?
No, I mean, I don't think Mason-Mount... I mean, he played really well in the first game. But as Ryan was saying there, Jordan Henderson came in, offered something different, a little bit more protection. And I felt in the way that he played that game, because it was almost like a 4-2-3-1, it was Henderson and kind of Declan that kind of protected the back line. And it allowed Jude to just go and not really have any defensive responsibilities. Now, can you do that the further you go in the tournament? It would be difficult, but I can understand why he'd bring Henderson back into it. As you said, you can hear him barking, the orders, he knows exactly what he's going to do. He won't shirk responsibility. And again, it's one of them where Gareth trusts him as well. So would I be surprised to see him in against Senegal? I wouldn't, just simply for the fact that him and Declan can give the protection to the back line, and that will allow Jude to play with a freedom, because he's one of the most talented players England have produced in a long time. So when you start thinking about, do you really want him running the other way? Do you want him getting on the ball in the opposition third, making things happen? I'd rather that.
Yeah, but on that, if he plays in like a 10 position, so it is a 4-2-3-1, who would you rather have in that 10 position? I wouldn't want Jude Bellingham in there. Jude Bellingham's a fantastic footballer. He's a midfielder, in the energy, box to box. But if you're going to have some sort of creative, you'd rather have a Foden in there, a Mason Mount in there, a Grealish in there. So it is tough, isn't it? Because Jude's that's not his favourite position, Darren, is it, as a number 10? So, look, I think that's why we're all sitting here and they're over in Doha managing England. Because, you know, he has to make...
I just don't like if they go to that 3 and then play 2, what we'd perceive more defensive midfielders, because that's when I really think that the England side invites a little bit more pressure instead of stamping their authority on the teams. And I think with this like pool of talent that he's got at his disposal, go a little bit more.
Let them worry about us.
Yeah, of course. If we talk about the Senegal manager, you're like, imagine playing against... You know, we always doubt it and go, well, look at the France team, look at the Brazil team. Look, imagine these people looking at the England squad. So you've got to assert yourself on other teams.
I think as a manager, I think sometimes, you know, we can all say, oh, the players, they're a bit cautious, don't really got on the front foot. Imagine how the manager's feeling. The whole country's relying on him to produce a team and to produce a result for us to keep going and progressing in the World Cup. So I get sometimes, you know, I've gone into matches and I've gone, work your way into games, don't just go all gun-go because they might be able to pick it off. Can Senegal do that? But with the greatest respect, I'm not too sure. So maybe it might be a game to jump on the front foot and get right after them.